Okay, great. We're 3 minutes in, so I think let's let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. Well, I'm currently sitting in Sandton after having just finished the executive breakfast with Cloudflare. It's a very interesting talk by a couple of people from Cloudflare. One of the things that came up during the conversation was the Cloudflare Developer Platform. Now, the I guess the guys from Cloudflare were quite open about the fact that not many people know about the developer platform, how to use it, or what its capabilities are. And they showed a couple of slides about what it is and what it could do. But unfortunately, the audience was not particularly technical and certainly not a developer audience. And so I thought it was a good idea to have this tech day and delve more into the Cloudflare Developer Platform, and do that technical deep dive uh, for all of you that are joining today. It's a pleasure to invite Gift, who is a developer advocate from Cloudflare, and she focuses on the developer platform. And she's going to be talking today about building AI-powered applications on Cloudflare Workers. Seamless integration of AI with Cloudflare. Obviously, AI is all of the buzz these days. And, one of the things that we found within the market is people struggling to figure out where to start and also what the capabilities are. We've seen the sort of brief demo of the Cloudflare platform before, and it just seems to make sense in getting into that journey of getting to AI. So Gift is going to show us how to build an AI application using the workers, and yeah, hopefully we all learn something from that today. So Gift, I'm going to hand over to you if you want to add anything to the introduction that I've given to you. Otherwise, happy for you to start your presentation and educate us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. I am very excited to be here. Like Andrew mentioned, I'm going to be walking everyone through the Cloudflare Developer Platform. So in case you're not familiar, I'm going to go through it. And then the meat of this presentation is on something called Workers AI, essentially a platform that allows you to build AI-powered application on top of Cloudflare Workers. Like Andrew, excuse me, just grab water. Like Andrew mentioned, I'm Gift Egwenu. I work as a developer advocate at Cloudflare. Today's agenda, we're going to cover a few things. We'll first look at the developer platform, like an overview of the platform. What does Cloudflare Developer Platform offer you as a developer? And then I'll talk briefly about Cloudflare Workers, which is the underlying technology that we will use in the demos that I will be showing you today. And then we'll talk about Workers AI and its capabilities. So what are the different, things that you can do with Workers AI today? And then I'll also show you some example use cases and actual applications that developers have deployed today using Workers AI. And then in the last bit of the presentation, because this is a virtual workshop, I would like to also show some code if you're happy to follow along as I go through it, but I'll also be sharing resources and links at the end, just so if you want to do some of the things that I'll show you today after this presentation, then you can also do that. So let's get started. The Cloudflare Developer Platform currently has several different points of presence deployed across the globe. Cloudflare is a global network that spans across 330 different cities. Currently in Africa, I think we have different points of presence in several different parts of the country, including South Africa. What this enables people building the applications on Cloudflare do is it allows you to access your application regardless of where your users are. So for example, I currently am based in the Netherlands and I deploy my application on Cloudflare. Wherever my users are accessing my applications from, whether it's from China, from Africa, or from America, they have low latency because we have several points of presence deployed across the globe. These are other stats. With Cloudflare, we currently have over 13,000 networks that are directly connected to Cloudflare, including every major ISP. And we have we currently have over 95% of the world's internet population sitting on top of Cloudflare. What do we offer with our Cloudflare Developer Platform? Right now, Cloudflare has several different offerings, one of them being the developer platform. We also have offerings for Zero Trust and SASE. That is not part of my talk, so I won't go into that. But the developer platform currently, we have three main things that we offer. We have compute and AI, storage and databases, and also we give you like network to, add to your application. The meat of the developer platform is something called Cloudflare Workers, which I would, talk about. But we also offer you the Workers AI, which is essentially GPUs that have been deployed on Cloudflare's network that allows you to build your application, your AI application on our network. We also have Cloudflare Pages. So if you're building stack application or front-end application using frameworks like Astro, Nost, SvelteKit, you can deploy your project using Cloudflare Pages. Under storage, because when you're building your application, you always need to store data, right? You would need like a database of some sort. We have several different offerings for storing data on your application. So we have Workers KV. Essentially, this is a key value storage that allows you to store key values on top of the Cloudflare Developer Platform. We have R2. R2 is an object storage similar to S3 that allows you to store images, videos, and different other media assets on the network. There are other options. I would love to go through them, but we have very detailed documentation on the different storage options, what exactly they are, like what can you actually store on them. The one that is kind of related to my talk today is vector database called Vectorize. So if you're working or building an LLM application and you want to store vector embeddings, we have something called Vectorize that allows you to store your vector database on Cloudflare. On top of the developer platform, we also have other integrated developer experience that allows you as a developer to work seamlessly, one of them being Wrangler. So Wrangler is our CLI, and you see me using it today. Essentially, this is a CLI that you would use when you're building locally or if you're trying to deploy your application. We have Pages. Pages allows you to do deployment of your full stack application, and this is quite connected with GitHub for CI/CD. So you do things like when you make changes in your project, automatically that gets pushed to Git, and then a new deployment is rolled up within your application. All of these are some of the offerings that we have under the Cloudflare Developer Platform. I'll be more than happy to talk about specific ones, but today I'll be covering two things. So I'll be covering Cloudflare Workers, which is the serverless function products that we have, and then I'll cover Workers AI. So what exactly is Cloudflare Workers? Cloudflare Workers provides a serverless execution environment that allows you to, augment new application or work on existing application without configuring or managing infrastructure. The key thing here is first, you can straight up write code and deploy without worrying about configuring any servers, because all of this is handled for you already by Cloudflare. We offer you a modern developer ecosystem where we have several different services that you can plug and play with Cloudflare Workers that allows you to build your serverless application. And of course, it's very inexpensive. Currently, we have over 100,000 requests per day on our Workers free tier account, meaning that if you're building your application, you have free access to over 100,000 requests per day. So you can imagine what you can do with that, right? Under the hood, Cloudflare Workers is basically a Cloudflare JavaScript function. This could also be a TypeScript or C or Python function, because currently we support different languages from JavaScript to TypeScript to Python, C, and so much more. All of these get translated to WASM at the back end. And essentially, I'll show you an example Cloudflare Worker function. So this is going to be like a request that you're sending to the server and you're getting back a response, right? And you can connect with different services, whether that is like a third-party API or you would like to connect to like one of our data offerings, whether that is R2, Workers KV, Durable Objects, or any of the other storage options we offer you. So what can you do with Workers? If you're thinking, yeah, Gift, this is nice, but what can I actually do? You can do different things, from the very fast and light things like creating like a routing and header transformation for your application, setting custom TLS or cache keys. You can do like things like A/B testing, to even running complicated tasks like actually building a full stack application or full stack API. This is a quick example of some of the Workers tasks that we currently have on our docs. So for example, you can do things like set up A/B testing with the same URL direct access. And this is written in JavaScript. We have an option for TypeScript and also an option for Python. So these are some of the tasks that you can currently do with Cloudflare Workers today. This is an example sample application built with Cloudflare Workers. Think of your typical API. You're trying to build an API and you're thinking of using Cloudflare Workers. What would that look like? So with Cloudflare Workers, like I mentioned, this can be either written in JavaScript or TypeScript. And within that, you can have different endpoints. So you can have like a get endpoints that basically route to /products. Maybe it's listing like a list of products in an e-commerce application. This is an hypothetical example. And the great thing here with Cloudflare Workers is whatever you're building, we have the underlying compute, which is the workers. And then you can, on top of that, add in different storage options. So for example, you're building an e-commerce application and you have different products that you're listing on your website, but you want to store that in a database. So you can choose to use either Workers KV, which is a key value storage, or D1, which is a SQL database, or Hyperdrive. So whatever option you choose, this is all possible with the offerings that we give you within the developer platform. So this is how you can build like an example global API on Cloudflare Workers. Moving on from Cloudflare Workers, I would like to talk about our integration with AI. Like Andrew mentioned, AI has been like the buzzword for the last couple of years now, and there are different, things that people are building right now that require you to use kind of add integration of AI. Like I've seen several different companies or products right now integrating, having some sort of AI integration in their platform. And as developers, you want to be able to, or you want to learn how to do this. And you can do that using something called Workers AI. And Workers AI has a seamless integration with the different products that I've mentioned, whether that's Cloudflare Workers, Vectorize, D1, and the other products I have shared. So what is Workers AI? Workers AI is a platform that allows you to run machine learning models on Cloudflare's network, whether that is from a Cloudflare Workers project, a Cloudflare Pages project, or even using the Cloudflare API. Why would you need to use Workers AI? Like I mentioned, a lot of people are looking to build and deploy AI applications, which is also something I'll show you during the demo in my presentation. And they want to get started quickly. Like right now, nobody is like looking to go and train like a model before they can actually get an AI application out there. There are so many different services and tools that makes it easy for you to get started with building AI application. We have several different models that we support out of the box, and we can also allow you to run your custom pre-trained models. I'll show you like a quick example of things you could do with Cloudflare Workers AI. On our website, ai.cloudflare.com, if you want to check that out. We have several different models that you can play around with just to see the different things you can do, from text generation to speech recognition, image classification, using the different models that we offer you out of the box. This is one example here using the Llama 3 model from Meta. And essentially here, I can easily prompt it to answer a question for me, and I'll get a response back. So this is an example way of how Workers AI work. Of course, this is just the UI. I'll be more than happy to show you the code behind this, but I wanted to show you an example of what you can do with Workers AI. Moving on, some of the features of building with Workers AI include, like I mentioned, you have different models included out of the box. Of course, because you're building on top of Cloudflare Workers, remember I showed you the map from earlier, your application has access to your users from wherever they are visiting your application from across the globe. We also have Vectorize. Vectorize is a vector database that can allow you to extend your AI application. We have AI Gateway. It helps you to track and collect observability on your applications. And also you can mix and match, like you can connect your Workers AI application with R2. Maybe you want to store the image generated from a model on R2. That's also possible. So these are some of the things that Workers AI offers you out of the box. Let's look at an example AI architecture. So you're thinking about building an AI application right now, and you're thinking of what can you actually use for that. There are several different options. For example, you can use Cloudflare Workers as the compute provider, and then tie that with Workers AI. Workers AI would be your inference of choice. And if you're looking to do vector search within your application, you can also add Vectorize into your application. And if you're looking to store or manage data, then D1 could also be a choice, or R2, like I mentioned. Of course, you have other options to select whatever service you would like other providers like OpenAI and so on. Or if you'd like to go the route of self-hosting it yourself, that's also possible. But this is a composable AI architecture that you can like see the big picture of, I need to build an AI application. What do I need to use? And this is an example of what that could look like. Okay, what are some use cases? I have shared the features of Workers AI, what is it, and how to actually, get started with it. But what are some of the things you can actually build with Workers AI? I like to use this illustration a lot because I've seen like different applications of AI in different industries and in different places. Right now, you can use Workers AI to do things like text generation, image generation, text to speech. One of the applications we'll be building today would be a content summarizer. So you pass it a long form content and then it summarizes it for you. And we'll also make like a image to text translation service where you pass an image to the AI and then it generates a caption for you. So these are some of the examples of applications you can build with AI today. Of course, they also encompass different industries. So I've seen, like, for example, in the e-commerce industry, different applications of AI. I've seen it in the medical field. I've seen it literally in almost all industries, like people adding integration of AI within their, industry or application. On Cloudflare, because what I shared was very generic, on Cloudflare, we have several developers that are currently using Workers AI to build and deploy their application. I'll show you this, which is a listing of some of the applications that has been built with Workers AI on Cloudflare. We have several examples. You can also like go check them out if you want to. It's on the developer docs. I think one of my favorite ones is this site GPT. Essentially what it does is it enables you to create a chatbot that is trained on your own data or on your own content. So for example, if you have maybe like a website or a blog and you want to add like a mini section where people can chat with a chatbot, you can pass it all the content from your blog and then have like a chatbot integrated into your website. This is using Workers AI. I can quickly check what it's using under the hood. It's using R2, Workers KV, and Workers AI. So these are some examples of applications that different developers have built using the Workers AI offering. Going back to my slides, I already showed you this, but let me quickly share some additional examples of things you could do with Workers AI. So I showed you how to generate text content. This is very, if you currently use ChatGPT, this is a very good example of that. ChatGPT essentially does text generation where you pass it a prompt and it returns a response back to you. And for this, we're using the Llama 3 model. Another thing you could do is text to image, right? Say you want to build an application that you can, pass in a text and expect an image back. I'm just going to try to generate an image of the South African flag. I'll see if it's accurate enough. Oh, okay. This is not quite looking like the South African flag, but at least it has the colors. But yeah, there's different things you can do with this specific model, the stable diffusion model. But one thing you should note is whenever you're passing in a prompt, you need to try to specify what you want to get exactly what you're looking for. Yeah, so there are different other models. I would love to show everything to you, but you can go to the website and play around with it. We also have another playground called the Workers AI Playground where you can use this. So before actually getting into working with Workers AI, like writing code, you can actually see the different models that we currently have and test it out and see which one you would prefer to use. So for example, for text generation, we have so many different models and they have like different use cases. For example, the Llama 3.1 model does text generation, text translation, content summarization. So depending on what you're trying to do and what your use case is, you can select a model using this platform before actually implementing it in your application. So going back to my code, this is an example image that I generated, a pink cupcake. And this is also the AI playground that I just showed you now. We have so many other models that you can use. So from doing things like automatic speech recognition, if you want to pass in an audio, we have a model called Whisper that allows you to do this. If you want to do content summarization or text summarization, so you have like a huge chunk of text and you want to create a shorter version of that, you can use the BAT model for that. I would be using the BAT model in my example. There are several other models we have on the developer documentation. If you go to models, you would see the long list. So we have from automatic speech recognition models to image classification, translation. So one thing I like to do is for whatever task that I'm trying to do, I would just check which model that I would prefer, and if possible, test it out using the playground or the demo on the website before actually implementing it within my application. All right, moving on. I have showed you how or what Workers AI can actually do for you. let's look at how you can actually use it. I know as developers, we want to get into the code, and enough of me showing you the UI. There are different ways you can actually use Workers AI right now within your application. One of them is by using the REST API endpoint. The Workers API gives you an endpoint for specifically working with Workers AI. So this is the endpoint. The only thing you need to do is you need to generate an account ID from your Cloudflare dashboard and then specify what model you're using. And this is where the docs comes back to play. In order for you to specify the model, you can check our catalogs of model to see which specific one you would like to work with, and then passing your token that you generated from the dashboard and also add a prompt. So for this, I'm using the Llama 3 model for text generation, where I'm passing it, where did the phrase hello world come from? And this is the response that I get back using the REST API endpoints. So this is very useful if, for example, you already have an application that you're working with. Maybe that application is running on Node.js, for example, and you don't want to start afresh, like using Workers AI. Essentially, you can use the REST API endpoint to integrate Workers AI into your already existing application. That's one good use case for this endpoint. Of course, we have other ways. You can also use Workers AI directly from the dashboard. So today, if you log into the dashboard and you go to Cloudflare Workers, there is like a specific area where you can start from a template. So essentially you can, just click a few buttons and you already have your application deployed. We have several different templates for you to choose from within the dashboard that are focused on AI, from the image classification app to an LLM application. So one thing you need to know is by clicking this and following the instructions, you don't need to write any code. Everything has been generated for you. You just need to deploy to your account, and then you have an application already existing. And of course, as a developer, you want to have access to, everything you're working on. You want to be able to customize it or configure it in a way that works for you. And that's where using the Workers CLI comes in. So you can also build your Workers AI application directly using Cloudflare Workers. I would walk you through how this would work. So first of all, you need to use something called the C3 CLI to get started. This is a CLI that allows you to bootstrap a new Cloudflare application, right? And then I'm calling my application LOAI. Once that is done, within the Wrangler configuration file, so this is one of the files that will be generated from the project directory, you just need to pass in a binding called AI. So bindings in the Cloudflare Developer Platform world is essentially a way to tell your application that you're going to be using a specific service within the developer platform. So you can pass in an AI binding, you can pass in a KV binding, you can pass in a D1 binding. So for whatsoever services that you're using, you need to pass in a binding. So in this case, I'm using Workers AI. So I pass in the binding AI. And this is an example Cloudflare Workers application where I am running an inference task within my application, just very similar to what I showed you with the API endpoint. The difference here being this is a JavaScript file that I am passing the model, which is Llama 3.1, and then I'm also adding in a prompt and then returning the response back to the browser. So for this, you have more leverage to do things like, for example, when the response is returned, you want to do something else with the response. You can also add that because this is a JavaScript file, you can extend this way past what I currently have on the screen. And finally, once your application is ready, you just need to run npx wrangler deploy. This is a way for you to directly deploy your application, and then Workers will create a workers.dev subdomain for you. You can always change this to your own custom domain within the dashboard if you would like to. Okay, I've given you an overview of Workers AI. I have showed you how you can actually get started. Also shown you some example use cases, right? So let's get into the demo. I want to show you how to build two different applications if we have the time for it though. The first application would be an AI-powered text summarization application, and then the second one will be an AI-powered image captioning service. If you want to follow along, we have a hackathon starter that is essentially set up for you to get started quickly. I think I'll share my slides at the end, or you can directly go to this GitHub repo. And all you need to do is like use this template to get started. So I already set that up and I have everything up and running. So I'll just quickly show you what you can actually do within a JavaScript application. For this specific example, I have within the, So within the templates that you would download, there are 3 different ways you can get started with Workers AI. You can use Python if that's your jam. So we have a Python integration starter listed there, but I'm going to be using Hono. So Hono is essentially a framework for working with Cloudflare Workers. It makes it very seamless because it's very similar to how you typically write your endpoints in like Express or Node.js. So I've set everything up. In fact, just cloning the application already has everything set up for me. So all I need to do is just run this app, and I'll just do that by running npm run dev. And once that's running, I can see my example application here. So within this template, we have 3 examples. I'll just quickly breeze through them. This is the first one that I showed you in the slides, where I am using the c.env.ai.run to pass in the model that I want and also specify what the prompt should be. So this prompt is saying you're a poet. Every response should rhyme with what the user is saying. So if I should run that, I should see some response that kind of rhymes with what the user said. Oh, I can actually pass. This is a typical one, but I can actually pass because the message here is I'm so going to win, but you can also pass a custom message to this and you get a response back. There are other examples here that I'll quickly show you. So when working with Cloudflare Workers AI, you can stream your responses, meaning that you can allow your responses be returned concurrently without having to wait for a long time. The previous example that I ran was pretty fast, but imagine you have something that's taking you up to like 2 minutes to run. You can pass in the stream here, and this will essentially stream the response. So let me show you what that would look like if I was to stream. I think this is a different message. This one is saying, you love tacos. Anything the user says, you make analogies regarding tacos. And then my prompt is, can you explain what RLHF is? So if I run this, you would see the difference between the first one and the second one. This one, the response is being streamed. So I get like the actual data coming back immediately, like concurrently, right? And this is useful. If you worked with ChatGPT, you would see that when you ask it or when you send a prompt, you kind of start getting the message returned immediately compared to like waiting a few seconds for it. So yeah, that's some of the examples that comes directly with the hackathon starter. But for my example, I want to create first the content summarization app where I would pass it a huge chunk of text. So I have this text here. Let's see how fast I can go. I have this text here that I want to summarize, and I'm going to be using the model because we have the summarizer model. So I'm going to be using this summarization model called BAT for this specific example. So the first thing I'll do here is create my endpoint, and I want to call this summarize. And then I'll then go ahead and create the response. Because I'm using something very similar to this, I'll just copy and paste that. So the only thing I want to change here is the endpoint, which is summarize. And then the model, I want to change that to this BART model. So I'm going to copy the model ID and replace it with the one that we have here. If you notice, for every model you click on, there is a specific format in how you can actually pass a response, like pass a request to it. So I'm going to be changing this slightly because this is very specific to the Meta one. So I'm going to remove this and instead return an input text because that's what it's expecting, and a max length, which is optional. And there we go. So I'm also going to change this because we don't need the message. So I'm going to remove this as well. So for just example purposes, if I run the /summarize endpoint, I should see like a natural response return that is shorter, like a summary of this text that I've just entered. So let me try to do that. I think I need to change this to summarize. Okay. So if I run this and wait a few seconds, you get a shorter, and this is very short because I specified the maximum length to be 14. So let's take that out and see what happens when we do that. The text will obviously be longer. So this is a summary of the actual input text that I passed in, right? I would love to do something more like user-friendly, like have this be an actual UI where there is a text box here where you can pass in your text, and then on the other side, the summary will be returned. So that would require me to do some HTML and CSS, of which I would love to do on this call, but it's going to take me a few minutes. So instead, I would go ahead and use something called Cursor. I'm not sure if you are familiar with Cursor, but Cursor is essentially an AI-powered code editor that allows you to do simple things like, for example, I would ask it to please help me generate a more friendly UI for these endpoints that I just created. So this will help me like bootstrap a very quick UI. Hi, could you please help? I'm being so polite. Could you please help me generate a UI interface for this endpoint with 2 text box, one for the text and I'll see how fast this is. If it's not as fast, I already have completed code, so I'll just copy and paste that. But let's see. So this is an example UI. I'll just apply it to my endpoints and I'll see what changes. I'm currently using just pure CSS for this, but I want to actually use Tailwind. So I would ask you to please use Tailwind CSS instead, so that we have a smaller text. Okay, so this is what it generated, essentially a box for me to enter the text that I want to summarize, a button for summarizing it, and then is also returning the actual box for me to summarize it. So I asked it to please use Tailwind instead, and it did. So I'll just apply it to my current code and see the changes. And I think this is better, is almost similar to what I created before. So let's see if this is actually working as expected. I'm going to go ahead and copy one of this text that I have here just to see what the summary of that would be. And if I click on summarize, we're getting undefined. Interesting. So one thing you should know about using things like this is you need to vet your code. And I think the reason being that the results that is returned from the endpoint is not directly being called in the UI. So I'll just see what exactly is wrong. And it's because, if I could just find the exact place it's calling it. Yeah, it's because this is wrong. So this should be results.summary, I guess, because that's what the endpoint is returning. Yeah. Let's see if that works. Okay, I have a few minutes left. Okay, yeah, so this works, right? So we've been able to do simple text summarization quickly using Workers AI, using one of the specific model. For the second example, I would love to go through building it out with you, but instead, I'll just show you what I've done because we are running out of time. Okay, so I'll just quickly add this and stash it. Okay, so for my other demo that I would like to show you, I essentially have something called an image captioning service. Basically, what this does is I pass in, I need to rerun my application, npm run dev. Okay, so for this, what I do is I pass in an image. This could be any image, by the way, and I'm asking it to please generate a caption for me. So I have an example image. This is an image of a cat, and I generate a caption. So it's essentially will return based off of the image that I have, return a caption for that image, right? So we have a small white kitten sits on the hard floor, looking up at the camera. Let me quickly show you the code for this. So I'm using the Lava HF model. This is one of the models for image to text. And essentially, I'm uploading an image from my file directory, running it using this model, passing in the actual image that I uploaded as an input, and then I get a response. So these are like two quick examples that I can show you of how to actually work with Workers AI. Going back to my slides, let's see. I am more than happy to take questions with the rest of the time that I have. So if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to take it. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Gift. That was an actual successful demo. It was very impressive. We have a lot of people trying live demos. It doesn't always work out. I see there is a question in the Q&A section. And again, I'll just remind everybody, if you do want to ask a question, there is Q&A functionality there. Otherwise, happy to take anything from the chat. So one of the first questions is, this looks great, and obviously you have much experience with this. How does one get started? And the question has come through is, how do you get started with the platform, and where do you find, I guess, documentation?
Yeah. Is my screen still being shared? Just checking.
It is not. Oh, yes, it is. It is. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So to get started, I usually recommend folks to check out the docs. It's developers.cloudflare.com, and for whatever products that you're trying to work with, we have docs for that, whether that's Cloudflare Workers or Workers AI. And we always have a getting started guide. So I gave you like a few pointers of what you can do when you're building your application for the first time, like either using the CLI, the dashboard, or the REST API. But I always recommend, regardless of what I've shared, it's nicer to like follow through a guided docs just so you can follow through and get started quickly. Yeah.
Okay, so and I think I'll just add on to that question. I think one of the topics that did come up this morning as well was the security of application development, or building secure applications. Now, obviously, Cloudflare has a lot of that in the background, but what given what you've shown us and the sort of the AI integration, what sort of skill level or level of coder would you recommend uses a tool like this? Um, a lot of people might try and be interested in it, or try and get into it and be scared away. So what sort of skill level do you think is required?
I believe if anyone is familiar with like working with a CLI, running simple commands, also like a little bit of JavaScript knowledge would help, because at the end of the day, what you're going to be writing, if you're using JavaScript, would be JavaScript. So I find that whether you're a beginner or an intermediate or expert developer, if you have these two skills, you're able to use a CLI to run like simple bash commands, and you also know how to work with JavaScript. Those are like the two core things I would say. And then we also give you like lots of examples to get started off with. So even if you're not familiar with the platform, for example, with Cloudflare Workers, I shared like an example page where if you probably have an idea of something you want to do, but you're not sure how to get started with it, there are different examples listed here that you can actually use for inspiration, right? So those two things I would say are the prerequisite for getting started with the platform. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. And then there's another question that asks, are there existing integrations to other tools? I think that's tools being
Yeah.
AI things, frameworks, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There are different tools or integrations that you can merge with Workers AI. One of them is Hugging Face. So if you're familiar with Hugging Face, it's like a platform where there are like several different listing of different models that you can actually use to, run your AI application. So one of the integrations on there is Cloudflare Workers. So if you go to Hugging Face, I think Hugging Face, and you search for like a model, like the one I was using in my example was the Meta Llama 3.1. One of the ways to directly from Hugging Face work with this specific model is by deploying it to Cloudflare Workers, if I can find it here. Interesting. Yeah, it should be one of the providers here, but I think this is a newer model, but I think for specific models, it has the Workers AI integration. Yeah, but that's one of the ways you can work with like an extra way to integrate Workers AI into your application. There's also LangChain. If you're familiar with LangChain as well, this is also one of the most popular, I'll say, framework within the AI sphere. And we have support for that using Cloudflare Workers AI, Vectorize, and D1. So we have like documentation as well as examples for how you can actually use LangChain within your application. I've also seen that we have examples within the docs on how to connect OpenAI with Cloudflare Workers. So if you're looking to use OpenAI's API, you can also work with that directly within your Cloudflare application. Yeah.
Okay, and so I think one of the most important things for these platforms is the community usually. So how many developers are actually using the platform, and what sort of community is it?
Yeah, so we have a very vibrant community on Discord. Let me see. I actually think this is the QR code that I have here. If you scan this, you would be redirected to our Discord community. on there we have right now over 50K developers that are building with the developer platform in itself, whether that's Workers or Workers AI or D1. And I find it as a very resourceful place to ask questions. So say, for example, you're trying to build your own application with the few things that I shared today, and you're probably stuck and you've checked the docs, but you're not entirely sure how to resolve it. The Discord community is one place you would get help from. So I would recommend that you join us there.
Okay, and then also support from Cloudflare themselves in terms of
Yes.
changes or enhancements and that sort of thing. How does that process work?
Yeah, we also have like a channel for making like product announcement, product releases within Discord, but also on our blog as well. So for example, if you're going to be releasing something new on the Workers AI sphere, this is a place where you would learn what exactly changed or what was actually released. You can also like chat with the PMs working on the product, see if you have like a product request for a specific product or feature requests. This is like a good space to connect with the developers, the product managers, and also developer advocate like myself working on the Cloudflare Developer Platform. Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. All right, I see there's no other questions in the Q&A or
Okay.
let me just check chat at the moment. Yeah, nothing additional over there. Any closing comments from your side? I think anything you want to add?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to share with everyone here. I hope you all learned something from what I shared, and maybe you're encouraged to go like try something out that I shared today. But otherwise, I am like very happy to have been at this event. And if you're looking to learn more, I have these additional resources on screen where you can take what I've learned today and explore a bit more to see if it's something you'll be interested in giving a try. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have experts come and speak to us. We really appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for joining today. And I hope you have a good day.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a nice day.